Hi, I'm Marilyn Palmer, founder of Marilyn Palmer Creations, a marketing company that helps small to medium businesses accelerate their business growth through effective marketing. However, tonight I'm going to be talking about my passion, which is a woman's story. The essence of a woman's story is this way. It is trying to help and empower other women that are going through horrific odds right now and saying, yes, you can. There is help and you can push through it, like these lovely ladies that are sitting here tonight. Enough about me. I'm going to introduce, in no particular order, the first person is Amber Graham. Amber, welcome to A Woman's Story.
Thank you.
So I'm just going to go briefly about what happened. Your daughter was trafficked, and not because you were bad parents. You were brilliant parents. You watched what she did on the internet. You knew her friends. And the trafficking started, what is it, 2 blocks over from where you live?
It was not 2 blocks, but it was a few neighborhoods, same city, but a few neighborhoods down to from where we were at. So,
And your daughter is relatively okay now?
yes, she's got a job, she's doing good. She does have a lot of triggers and still has the, anxiety and PTSD and nightmares, but she's on the road to being even healthier. It's just one of those things that's going to take a while. She may always have triggers. So,
Mentioning triggers, good point. Thank you, Amber. If anybody is watching and gets triggered by anything that is said here, please stop watching. We are not professionals. Like, we're not lawyers, we're not doctors, we're not affiliated by any stretch of the imagination with women's shelters. We're not psychoanalysts or I can't speak, psychiatrists. So please, if you're watching and going to get triggered, please don't watch this. Amber, we talked briefly in your story, which you can find all of their stories on my YouTube station, which is Marilyn Palmer, and under the playlist of A Woman's Story. We talked briefly about the red flags. Can
yes.
you describe some of the red flags for me, please?
Yes, some of the major red flags are just a sudden change in their behavior, their attire, school attendance, habits, friends groups, their vocabulary, attitude will change. Isolation, if they're spending a lot of time alone, isolating from their friends and family is another huge red flag. Which is some of the things I did not notice with my daughter, just because, typical teenage kids kind of have some of these things on a day-to-day basis anyway. So they're very common red flags, but they are there. Another few things to look out for are just maybe they're into drugs, they're depressed, they're anxious, mental health plays a part in some of that, low self-esteem, different things that it's just easy for a trafficker to grab a hold of them and start grooming them. They look for the vulnerability and a young adults, children, that's what they look for.
Are you now an advocate? And it's Texas, right?
Yes.
So are you now an advocate for child trafficking in education?
I'm trying to, obviously spread the word. I'm not involved with any groups or anything, but just for my own personal things on LinkedIn, Facebook, and people that I come into contact with, I am definitely spreading their awareness, because you just never know who it can and can't happen. Recently, I had a friend of a friend reach out to me just on Messenger on Facebook, because one of her friends' daughter was missing and it was the same situation. So I kind of, walked and guided that mom through the steps that she needed to do and who she needed to contact within our area to help locate her daughter. So it's just everywhere. And she was 15 years old too. So
Okay, thank you so much.
yes.
Paulette Martin. Colette's story, you can find again on YouTube under a woman's, no, wait, sorry, under my channel and in the playlist of A Woman's Story. Wow. Attempted murder is your story. Intimate partner violence is a pandemic, and I'm not going to apologize for that statement. It is a pandemic. And I want to talk to you about the mission that you're on and your advocacy and the Bill 17. So the floor is now yours.
Thank you. I started this after 26 years of being very, very traumatized by my attempted murder. And I am trying to raise awareness and give people hope and give a voice to those that don't have a voice. And so in December of 2022, I helped pass Bill 17, which is in the UK Clare's law, and that's where it comes from. But because of our Privacy Act here in New Brunswick, we couldn't have the exact same as Clare's law, so we adopted Bill 17. Bill 17 in other provinces of Canada, in Alberta, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Newfoundland, and Labrador, they do have Clare's law. And the RCMP is our ally for this. And Claire Wood was a lady, a young lady from the UK. She was murdered by her ex-partner. This is a preventative measure, and we need all the tools we can get to fight this intimate partner violence. And this is so important that we promote it. So please share, everyone listen, we need to do something, and it is a pandemic, like Marilyn said, like violence against women, missing and murdered Indigenous women. There's no end to it. Every day it's worse and worse and worse. And I would like somebody to tell me that this is not a pandemic in my face.
What is Bill 7? Okay, what does it entail? What does Bill 17? Okay,
Yep.
In your case, what would have it done? How would it have helped you?
Well, when I went to my attempted murder trial, my ex had previous charges from breaking the jaw of his ex-girlfriend, and I didn't know this because he was from another province, and I had no way of knowing his background. But with Bill 17, then we'd be able to go and ask for a background check or whatever. They're not allowed to give you specifics. They can't even give you the charges, but at least they can tell you if your life's in danger or not. And I think that's a big thing, and anything that we can use to prevent this so it doesn't go on to the rest, I think is good. And I'm going to share my story and until the day I die, so nothing's going to stop me.
Great that you're sharing.
Thank you.
Amber Hollowell, my buddy, my bro. I shouldn't say bro, my sister. I would say the first word, but then we'd have to shut it down. Remember? The first starts with a B.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Amber, your husband gave you HPV, which is sexual abuse. And he gave you a very horrific level of HPV. You have survived, which is fabulous, but you're not unscathed. You're an advocate and a change for women's health in North Carolina. You are trying to introduce through your research, because you found out that Australia gives the HPV, but not virus, what's it called? And help me here.
Vaccine.
Thank you. Vaccine to both boys and girls. and that they've eradicated that virus by how much of a percent?
It'll be 100%. They project by 2032.
Wow.
So within the next 8 to 10 years, they'll be able to completely eradicate a form of cancer off their continent, which is huge, especially being, I didn't realize how prolific HPV was. And in my mid-30s, when they discovered it on me, they had recommended me go to an OBGYN for my normal practitioner. And when I go in, it's a new provider that I haven't seen before. And she makes this comment to me that they pretty much assume every woman and every man has HPV in the US because it's that prolific. That at some point in time, everybody's going to have it. It was no big deal because I was kind of like, wait, I've gone 17 years and never had HPV. That's kind of a big deal for me, especially being HPV can lead to cervical cancer. And so for me, my first case of it, my ex gave me 2 different strands. So the first case of it, I had to have chemical acid burns for 9 months. Every 2 weeks, I had to have a new coating put on. It was fantastic. Not really, extremely painful. Whereas my ex had one little piece frozen off. That was it, done, never another problem. One day, easy peasy. And then about 1.5 years later, and even then, I didn't show up that I had HPV on my pap smear. It came up in the actual test.
Is it a different test?
Well, no, you always, the pap smear always looks for abnormal cervical cells. And that will if you have a form of HPV. But because the X isn't tested the same way, you wouldn't know unless you did a biopsy. So my biopsy showed what strain I had of HPV. So the second time around, I had a pap smear that came up abnormal with HPV. And so I go back into my practitioner, and they had to do the first procedure is what's called a colposcopy. And they go in and they pretty much cone off different sections of your cervix of biopsies and test all of it. And so when it came back that I was stage 2 cervical cancer. So they pretty much had to do a LEAP procedure, and a LEAP procedure is where they remove that section of your cervix. And for me, it was pretty much all of my cervix. So they chopped off all of my cervix. And because my insurance at the time, given my age, if it came back, then I could have my uterus removed. But at the time, my insurance didn't even cover for my uterus to be removed that the cervix was attached to. And I didn't need it. I had 3 kids. I'd already had my tubes tied. Like, I don't need my uterus. They could have just taken it, but nope, left it. And so, yeah, I've been in remission almost 10 years now. Now, I will say thank you. And I will say that is something that is another thing that Australia has. They are more advanced than we are, I would say, in their reproductive health. And they have a test, the cervical screening test, which instead of looking for abnormal cervical cells, this specifically looks for HPV. So that you address it sooner and you know what you're treating and you can get in on it faster. But because they introduced their vaccine to both males and females, they've pretty much almost eradicated that disease over there. And we know that cervical cancer, HPV pretty much is like your main reason why women get cervical cancer, A. B, we found out that a lot of the throat cancers, a lot of the anything with your tongue, they're not nicotine and alcohol. They're HPV.
Shut the front door.
Anal cancer, penile cancer, testicular cancer, cancer. I mean, we could go on and on and on related to HPV, which is an SI. And so that is, I would really like to see that push that test here so that we got more aggressive with our healthcare. Because the other thing is too, so that the focus is so narrowed in, you don't have to have that test as often either. So like here, we do the pap smear every 2 years. For that recommendation, it's like every 5 because it's so precise. So unless you're suspicious that something's going on, like, and I'll say that too, if you're in a relationship and you feel like your ex might be messing around, it does not hurt you to go in for your annual pap smear and have that screening, that STI panel done.
Can you have that done without without the fear of having a, okay, just pretend everybody, Amber Graham and Amber Hollowell is from the US. Marilyn Palmer and Colette Martin are from Canada. So whatever Colette is, sorry, so whatever is Amber, I'm gonna ask Amber, relates to the US. It
Right.
doesn't necessarily relate to Canada. Can you have that test done without having a PAPS? No. Can you have that test? Can you walk in and ask the doctor to do that test without even fearing that you might have it? Can you just say, oh, by the way, when you're running the pap smear, can you do this test too?
Yeah.
Okay.
And STI, I mean, it's a blood screening. I mean, STI is
Oh.
a blood screening, but you can go, I mean, you can go in the US, you can go to your public clinics in your town and go have any, if you suspect an STI, they'll do a STI screening on you for free. I mean, because that is part of our public health
Okay.
and not passing that disease. So yeah, you typically can go into your office and just say, you know what? I'd like to have a screening done. Could we? I'm a little suspicious.
Okay. So you're being an advocate right now. Are you, I know you're being an advocate for a bunch of stuff, which we're not going to get into, okay?
Right.
But they are very important, okay?
Yes.
Topics, but they're on topics of unto themselves. Are you advocating in North Carolina right now, whoever you talk to, about this situation with HPV? Are you talking, like, are you talking to doctors? And I know you talk to your own doctor, but like,
I am trying to outreach with some of them here in North Carolina, but I also do understand that there's a lot of red tape. And at the moment, we've got some stuff going on with our legislation about what our doctors already can do within the GYN space.
okay,
And so it's a little difficult for me to go in and push for a certain test when right now they don't know what their parameters are. Our OBGYNs are in across the country are guessing things depending on what state you have, what state you have, what other laws are being put in place, are kind of putting limits on some of our OBGYNs. And we're having OBGYNs leave certain states to go where states where they know they can practice, where they know they can take care of their patients, and they're not going to be sued for it.
ladies, would you come back again and let me know what's going on and how far you've progressed on everything? Yeah, because I think this
Yes.
is very, very important. It won't be tomorrow. It'll probably be 3 months from now, if that's okay. I thank you all for coming. And every last one of you, anybody looking at this, please take a look at these women and see how far they have gone and what they're doing. And my hat's disappearing again. Anyway, Colette, could you please do me a favor and read your closing line for everybody? Thank you.
My time to leave this earth will come, and when that time comes, I want to look back knowing that I inspired people to say, because of you, I never gave up. Because of you, I love myself more. Because of you, I asked for help. We can all be a because of you person to give this world hope. Thank you.
Thank you, Colette. Thank you, Amber. I'm going Brian. Thanks, Brian, too. And Amber, I'm going to close off the session now. And I so much appreciate you all for joining me for A Woman's Story. And I hope that we leave no woman behind. Thanks again. Bye-bye.